Hey YouTube, I'm Arwen, the professional joy seeker, professional tarot consultant, and Barbara Walters wannabe. In my quest to interview everybody, I have asked y'all to tell me about people you wanted to see, and I've found some great channels this way. The young lady I'm talking to now, and I can say young because she's younger than me, is somebody that I hadn't seen. And she and I were actually talking right before the show about the fact that the YouTube community has grown to the point where you kind of have to be told about new people or have them just kind of pop up in your face because we've gotten kind of big. And I don't think we need to go on a diet, but please welcome to my channel, Mandy C. Hey, Mandy.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit about your channel. What is your emphasis on your channel? What do you like to do the most?
What do I like to do the most? I like to talk. My channel is basically, I guess you could say, and I'm going to just say it now before I say anything else. I've recently got a denture and I'm struggling a little bit to talk. So if I have a lisp, that's why, for those of you that do know me, that know I don't normally talk with a lisp. My channel is kind of like, I guess you could say, an online video journal of my own discoveries and my path within eclectic Wicca and my own spiritual journey over time, but also the different things that I have struggled with on my path so far, that I have found things that work for me, and so I share those things with other people. They're not necessarily going to work for everybody, but I like to share as much as I can with other people, in kind of like a take it or leave it kind of way. If it works for you, great. If not, and also I use my channel to promote my business and all the different things I'm doing, like when I did the documentary and the book and the album and all of that stuff. Like I use all of that through my channel as well, because let's be honest, YouTube is a fabulous free resource for advertising. And also I use it to connect with people. I use it to make new friends. I mean, I've recently been initiated into a coven, which we call a solitary coven. It's with other solitary practitioners. And I met them through YouTube as well. I met them online. So that's kind of, I try and use it for as many different things as I can. It's kind of my own therapy, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. I'm monitoring the chat every time I look over here. And I just want to tell you that I saw you had an album and I thought, well, I'll go look at it because I'm not a huge music person. I'm just not. I tell people that I am a fan of wallpaper music. It can just hang there and I'm good. I don't like crazy heavy rock. I don't like crazy like death metal. No, thank you. I'm really an old folky. I'm 56 years old. So idea of good music starts with Gordon Lightfoot, John Denver, most people's idea of boring. Your album, girl, is awesome. I loved it.
Thank you. I can't take all the credit for it, I must admit. I created it with a fantastic person called Liam Bradbury, who really, I mean, it was his idea. Everything kind of, the initial of actually creating it in the first place was his thing. So it was really his baby. And when we first kind of discussed it, I thought that I was going to like sing a few tracks on an album that he was going to create, and then it just turned into my album. So yeah, I mean, obviously I did write the songs and sing them and write the lyrics and the melodies and stuff like that, but it was very much a joint thing. It wasn't kind of me that did everything, and yeah, he spent hours making everything wonderful.
Well, can we hope for another one? I know putting an album together and putting it out there is a huge thing, but can we hope for more?
I would like to do more. To be honest, I would really, because I've always sang. When I was young, I did ballet and I did theatre, and I was on the stage from a really young age, and I did singing, and I went to performing arts school after high school. So it was what I've always done, really. And then as I got older, I just kind of stepped away from it, and it became singing in the shower, nothing really fancy. And now I've done it, it's made me realize how much I actually miss performing live, because it's the first time I've really recorded anything. So I'd kind of really like to see how far I can go with the album that I've created first, in terms of seeing if I could do any of the like fairy festivals or any of, you know, the pagan things like that with this album, and see where that goes, and if that works out, then maybe create some more or something like that.
Awesome. I think there's a dearth of pagan music. I don't think we have enough. One of my favorite, it's a Celtic pagan rock. I don't even know how they call themselves. Just officially disbanded. They're all still friends. They've just all gone off on their own things. It's called Emerald Rose, and they're from Dahlonega, Georgia. And I knew the guys. I mean, I went to their place. A friend of mine got married out there. So that's the reason I started listening to them. And then it was just because it was just hella awesome music.
Yeah.
So I want more pagan music that's good pagan music. I've heard some pagan music that didn't catch it for me. It catches it for other people.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what the beauty of music is. It's just like YouTube. You know, you may not love my channel.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean.
So, you know, it's what fits everybody.
I mean,
if Bauhaus made a pagan album, I probably wouldn't buy it.
I think with pagan music as well, there is this kind of idea of traditionally what pagan music should sound like. And it's kind of like meditation music with some lyrics in there as well. And don't get me wrong, some of that stuff that I've heard, I love it. You know, I don't think it's bad, but there is a lot of you know, similarities to a lot of the pagan music that is out there. And that was why it was quite important to me, because I'm very interested in Norse mythology and I connect very much with Freya, and it was very important to me to bring kind of a Nordic feel to a lot of, I didn't want it to all be the same and to all be kind of a heavy Norse album, but I wanted kind of a Nordic feel to some of the songs. Just so it was a tiny bit different, you know, just a tiny bit heavier, not so much that it was kind of, you know, Marilyn Manson or anything, but I wanted it to just be a tiny bit, you know, just more me, I suppose, rather than stereotypically pagan.
Yeah, and I think that we do have a well, when I was coming up in Wicca, I used to go to a pagan spirit gathering a lot. It's a big pagan gathering here in the States. And there were a bunch of Arisians or Discordians. And I walked by and I heard them singing, and I stopped, and what they were singing was A minor, B flat, this is another pagan chant. Yeah.
And do you know what, when we were writing the album, I should say, we did have different ideas, and there was going to be a very kind of chanty song, and I wrote it, and Liam put the music to it, and I heard it back, and I was just like, no, like, we need to get rid of this. It just, and there was a couple that we created that, you know, it was a nice idea, but hearing it back, it just didn't fit. It wasn't as good as the others. It didn't, you know, it wasn't up to par, and I just, no. I'm not a very chanty person in my practice. It's not really, I'm not very chanty in general. So to bring that into my music, it wasn't fake, but it didn't feel like the other songs in terms of actually putting myself and my practice and my spirituality into what I was trying to create.
Yeah, and I actually, chants I really do like for specific things. But if I'm just sitting and listening, chanting isn't going to work for me. Now, I love things like Robert Gass on Wings of something.
I don't know.
But he does an album where it's got like a full chorus doing We All Come From Goddess, which is for me a staple pagan chant and a beautiful one. So they're, for me, I like them for some things. I don't like them for, like, if I was driving, a chant tape would not be a safe idea.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Because, the reason I chant is to go into trance, and so my body says, oh, look, we're chanting.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, chanting is more of a prayer. And it's kind of like raising the energy for a prayer, or like you said, when you're going into some form of, whether you call it trance, ritual, whatever you want, it's the way for me to kind of raise energy. but besides that, it's not really something I do very often. It's you know, that's it really. It's not something that when I kind of converse with the divine, I don't do it in a form of chant. I do it in a form of conversation.
Yeah. Now I want to ask a couple questions of you. Those of you who tuned in, you know that we've got a pretty good crowd watching. Hi guys. I call this the 13 things I want to know about you, but there's like 20 questions because the Arwen doesn't count so well. So Mandy, the very first question is, what do you remember about witches in general as the very first thing you encountered? I mean, this could be as a kid, cartoons, a book, the crazy lady next door.
I remember when I first kind of discovered paganism, and this was 1998, so this was a while ago. Everyone that I kind of met, everybody that I saw on TV, everyone in movies, they used to wear a lot of crucifixes, and I used to find that so confusing, because it wasn't like I'm not against Christianity or any kind of religion, and it wasn't a case of not understanding why they would be kind of promoting the symbol, but I didn't understand why. And it was kind of all the way through the 90s, it seemed, that anything to do with paganism came with the crucifix rather than the pagan symbols that we're more used to seeing. If there was any form of symbology, it was these crucifixes. And it's, I mean, anything from, you know, like The Craft, for example, or Charmed, the TV series, or the different movies that you watch, they're always wearing these crucifixes. And I can remember finding that very, very confusing when I was younger. That
I imagine.
I didn't understand if it was, you know, when I was first kind of sniffing around paganism, if it was kind of like a kick in the, you know, like a kick in the teeth to Christianity, or kind of like a, you know, I didn't understand. It was almost like a mockery thing, or it certainly was in my head. I didn't realize that for different people, different symbols meant different things at that time. So yeah, that's kind of the earliest thing that I remember, is crucifixes all over the place, and being really confused about that. They seem to wear them large, and I mean, this was before you saw all the rappers and everything with all their bling and everybody, and it seemed to be that pagans wore them more than Christians did, in terms of like big dangly like earrings and necklaces and stuff like that. So yeah, that's what I remember.
I have no memory of that. I think I must have just tuned it out, because somebody's saying that Nancy Downs and Friends, I guess that's The Craft,
Yeah,
we're doing that. I've seen people, and particularly in the Gothic community or the Goth community, who wear rosaries as necklaces.
yeah.
I come from a Catholic family. I was raised Episcopal, but the rest of my family is Catholic. And so for me to see somebody wearing a rosary as jewelry is actually something I find personally offensive. I'm not going to go tell anybody they take that off. It's not my hula hoop, but that's a connection with deity, and there's a real specific use for it. I have over here somewhere some medals off rosaries that have fallen apart, and I'm trying to find an appropriate use for them, because I don't want to use them disrespectfully.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't remember that. I'll have to go back and watch The Craft again.
Yeah. And they do, the rosary is a thing as well. That was very popular. I know that, like, I was going to say a couple of years ago, but time always goes a lot faster than I think it goes. It's probably like 5-7 years ago, something like that. And it was men. I don't know what it was like anywhere else, but in the UK, it was like a big fashion statement. Men wore rosaries all the time. And it wasn't pagan men. It was just in general, like men going to the pub or to nightclubs or anything, they'd wear a t-shirt and then wear the rosary. And they were always like really cheap, tacky ones as well. I never understood it personally, but it's none of my business, is it? Each to their own.
Right, that's my. Is it in my hula hoop? Nope, not in my hula hoop.
Exactly.
So, you know, and I will go off on rants sometimes and get kind of wah about stuff. But you know, just like when somebody comes to my channel and says you shouldn't do that. Okay, don't watch.
Yeah.
Now, what brought you to the craft? I mean, how did you become a witch or a pagan? I'm assuming I haven't watched a lot of your videos recently, so I'm like, crap, I need to watch some more of your videos.
Yeah, I use the term witch, and I call my path an eclectic Wiccan path, so that's what I kind of refer to myself as. I actually came to it really from Christianity, not because I didn't like Christianity, but because the words that I heard in Christianity kind of sent me more towards nature than to Jesus, if that makes sense. Like I can remember, because my family was Christian, not strictly Christian. I was always very aware, even from a young child, that I was allowed to choose what I wanted to believe. My mom would kind of say to me that the Bible stories aren't true, they're just nice stories, like metaphors for different things. You know, she didn't believe in Adam and Eve and stuff like that. She thought they were nice metaphors. And for me, it was very much when I heard that God created us in his own image that I got very confused, because I didn't even know at this point that you could have a goddess. So it wasn't a case of, okay, so where's the goddess? Because I didn't know you could have one. But I kind of wanted God to be male and female, or like a mixture of the two. That was what threw me off. It was that balance. And so I just started looking for that, and I was looking for it in Christianity. And I mean, I was like 10 at this point. No idea why at such a young age I had such an interest. I think it's because I enjoyed Christianity. I enjoyed religion. I enjoyed the idea of kind of having a faith. So I think that's what it was, really. So it certainly wasn't being opposed to Christianity. It was because I enjoyed it. But the things that were being said didn't make complete sense. So trying to find a balance in Christianity actually led me to look elsewhere. And I didn't realize at that time that you could be a witch or that anything else existed. You know, I think at that age, I probably thought that being Jewish or being Muslim or you know, anything like that was all part of Christianity somehow. I didn't really get it. And yeah, so I just kind of eventually discovered that other people had these beliefs that I'd managed to come to the conclusion of on my own, still probably calling myself Christian, but actually having pagan beliefs at the time.
I like it. So it's kind of a gradual.
Yeah.
And that makes sense to me. I've spoken to so many people, and it's really interesting to me to see how we all, you know, because the majority of us come from a Judeo-Christian background.
Yeah.
Almost everybody. I've spoken to one person who came from a different background, but so we all came from kind of that same area. Yeah. And how we got here is pretty interesting. And most of us, it wasn't a poop off the cliff. It was more like I'm just going to go over here and see what's in this field.
Yeah. It was a case of trying to understand the Christian God by looking at the world and trying to, because, you know, there is nothing in Christianity that tells you not to do that. God created the world, and so by looking at the world and having that reflected back, I thought that I would have a better connection and understanding of the Christian God. But it turned out that actually when I did that, I discovered something else.
Yeah. Now let me ask you this. YouTube, and we talked a little bit before this about the YouTube community. Who's the first witch, pagan, woo-woo person that you can remember watching on YouTube? I mean, do you have a memory of that?
I think it was, well, I found a lot, because when I started my channel, I thought I was doing something really unique because I hadn't seen any, like I was very kind of new, and I hadn't really researched. So I thought that I was like, oh, I'm going to do witchy video. I didn't know there was a pagan community. And one of my very early videos was a Book of Shadows giveaway, because I was doing a Book of Shadows series where I was showing how I created the pages. And then I got a book that was just like mine that I was going to give away. And I think I asked for video responses to my video, because you could do those then, of people showing me their current Book of Shadows and why they would want to win mine. And so I got loads of responses at that point. So I discovered lots of people at the same time. But the one that really sticks in my head was a girl called Pagan. her actual name was Erin, but her channel name was Pagan, just because she had quite a few books of shadows and she made them all herself, like these big leather-bound books. And I loved that because I'd never considered making my own book of shadows at that point. I'd only ever bought them, I was on my second one at that point. I'd only ever finished one before. And I started watching her videos because she was so crafty, and I just fell madly in love with her. I thought she was absolutely fantastic. So that's kind of definitely within like the first couple of weeks of my channel. There were others as well, but she's the one that sticks out.
Very cool. Very cool. Now I'm going to ask a really nosy question. You can tell me it's none of my business. You have something behind you over your, I think, right shoulder. Is that a bird cage?
No, I'll tell you what it is. It's a it's a waxing pot, you know, for like leg waxing and stuff like that. It doesn't look very neat and tidy, and I thought if my mom ever watches this back, she's going to kill me for having my waxing pot in the back. She'll be like, "It looks so untidy, Mandy." So I thought I'd just throw something over it. No one will notice. Thanks, Arwen.
I know, right? The one thing I cover up, she like zeroes in on.
I could. I have a large room. I could have just lifted it and moved it over there, but I was too lazy to do. It's.
You see how neat and tidy I am, right?
It's 11:53 p.m. here. I don't have the energy to move it from there to there.
No, I saw the white legs on it. I thought
it does look like a bird cage.
Like a bird cage.
Yeah. No, it's not. I wish it was a bird cage. Well, I don't actually. Because
no, you don't.
I have a cat on the bed, and I think that would be very dangerous.
So tell me about your favorite form of divination. I have watched some of your videos, so I think I have a clue. But what's your favorite thing you do to see the?
My favorite form of divination would be tarot, but I don't really do it in terms of seeing the future. For me, I like to know, because I'm a very overly analytical person. When I read for other people, you know, I'll do whatever they want me to do. And I always try and explain to people that the way I read is I read the current energy. I can tell you what's going on now. I cannot predict your future accurately because you can change it at any time you want to. You know, I can, don't get me wrong, if you're doing something, if you're taking a lot of drugs, of course, I can guess that within a few months, you're probably not going to be very well, but you can guess that for yourself. You know, that's not me predicting anything. I read current energies. And when I divine for myself, when I use tarot for myself, it's more to kind of check in with me and check that actually, am I where I think I am? Because I always second guess myself.
Are you an air sign?
I'm a water sign. I'm a Pisces, just like you.
You're a Pisces too?
Yeah.
Huh. Because I do a lot of what you're doing, but I always blamed it on my Aquarius rising.
Well, I don't really know how to say it. I trust in my intuition in the moment. But when it's something that I'm kind of planning for, an organization is a big thing for me. When it's something I'm planning for, I second guess myself. If there's any time, you know, if I have to make a decision in the moment, that's fine. And if I was in a forest and I had to decide to go either left or right, I would just pick. And even if we'd been walking for 4 hours and I was pretty sure we should have stopped by now, I'm still convinced I'm right. But if I have, you know, even a couple of days to second guess myself, then I will. And I will second guess myself so many times. I'll like 15th guess myself kind of thing. So
I call that the other fish syndrome. This fish says, yes, let's go here. Let's go here. And the other fish is like, oh, fuck. Have you really thought about this? No, I haven't. Let's go this way.
Yeah, that's what I'm like.
Yeah. Now, have you ever done a spell that backfired or didn't give you your expected results?
Not really. I mean, I've had spells that didn't work. But even the ones that I've done that did, because I'm not somebody that goes to spells very quickly. I'm somebody that, you know, if I genuinely think that I've used up all of my other resources, then I will do spell work, but I still don't expect anything to be done for me. When I do spells, I'm asking for opportunities to be able to help myself. I'm not asking for something to be done and then just sit back and watch. So I have done spells that haven't worked, that, you know, I guess was the wrong timing or something like that. But even in that scenario, I still kind of, even though they didn't work the way I wanted them to, I still think that they worked because I still always learned something from them. So they still did do something. It just wasn't what I set out to do in the first place. But I've never had anything kind of backfire terribly, no.
Well, and I love what you said about you ask for opportunities so you can do stuff, because I often, this is one of my gripes about any religion. I hear the people, the followers of said religion, treating their deity or deities as a concierge service. Oh, goddess, please bring me that car. I am so sure she's got better things to do than to hit the local car lot for you.
Yeah, no, if I wanted a car, I would ask for the opportunity, you know, to have that situation come up in my life where I might be able to work to, you know, be in that, you know, get the money to do whatever. I'm quite proud, I'll be honest, I'm quite a proud person. And if I can do something for myself, whether it's asking the universe for help or asking a family member for help or asking a friend for help, I will do it myself, because I like to be able to get into bed at the end of the day and know that I worked my ass off and did everything I possibly could. That makes me feel good about myself. And so when I do spell work, I still want to know that I'm doing it in a way where I can be proud of myself at the end of the day. I still know that I can take credit for it, if that makes sense, you know?
Yes, absolutely.
I don't want a quick fix. It's not going to the doctor and asking for tablets or anything like that. I want the opportunities to be able to create for myself, to manifest my own reality.
Exactly. You like to be in charge of yourself.
Yes, I do.
Now, I have a question that I always ask, and I've learned that I have to change it for those of you across the pond. Generally, I say green sauce or red sauce, but
I knew this was coming.
Okay. Somebody told me it was better to ask somebody in the UK, barbecue sauce or brown sauce? No, brown sauce or ketchup?
Yeah. So in the UK, we have ketchup, which is the tomato. We have brown sauce, which is this disgusting stuff that my mum likes. And then we have another brown sauce, which is a barbecue sauce. So if it was a choice between red sauce or brown sauce, I'd pick the ketchup. If it was a case of all three, I'd pick the barbecue sauce.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm trying to skip around. What's the type of magic that you enjoy doing the most when you're going to work magic? And I'm talking like, you know, some people prefer stone magic, some like candle magic, some like cantrips. How do you approach it that makes you feel the most comfortable?
I really like slow working spells. I love earth spells if it applies to what I'm doing. I use elemental magic. So that's my favorite, but obviously you can't always do an earth spell. It depends what you're doing, but my absolute favorite is always an earth spell if I can, whether it's kind of a burying and banishing something or whether it's a planting and growing something. So I do love a good earth spell, but I always kind of I watched a video recently and I can't remember what it's called. It was by Maggie Elram. And she was talking about people having all of these different titles for themselves, like I'm a green witch, or I'm a kitchen witch, or I'm a hedge witch. And I've never kind of had a title really for myself. And it made me start thinking, if I was going to give myself a title, what would it be? And I'd call myself a self-development witch, I think. I love any form of magic where you can incorporate self-development, whether that is a spell or whether it's talking to someone who's having a hard time and actually using your skills and your abilities in that conversation. So they might not even, you know, the fact that you're pagan is could be completely irrelevant to them, but to me that's still a way to use your magic, you know. So yeah, I think any time that I get to feel that I'm growing and evolving, and any time that I feel that I can be a smidgen of someone else's, you know, evolving, of someone else's feeling good, that is my favorite.
I love that. Now, somebody asked, I just missed it, Sarah or Sarah, I don't know how she pronounces it, asked if you have a favorite tarot deck. I know that for me, that's asking me like, which is my favorite cat.
No, I do. I have a favorite, a hands down favorite. I love the Shadowscapes deck. That's my absolute favorite.
Yes. When I first saw that deck, blown away. Stephanie did such an amazing job with that.
I'm really sensitive to imagery in general, but with tarot cards, for me, if, for example, the Rider-Waite deck, for the longest time I had such a hard time with that. That was the deck that I first tried. I mean, I'm one of these people that it took years to learn tarot. You see all of these people on YouTube and they're like, oh, it's like a duck to water. I wasn't. I was like a boot to water, like, or like a flip-flop. I was useless. It took me years. I was about as, you know, oh, it was awful. And in the end, I just chucked all of the books and I taught myself in a completely different way. And that worked for me. But I tried with the Rider-Waite deck and it really unnerved me. I not to put it down, but for me, it didn't work. It was, you know, looking at like the 10 of Swords, for example, I was like, ooh, you know, I didn't like that kind of thing. And so I have to be very, very careful with the type of images, because I will then focus on what I don't like as opposed to the message that's coming through. So when I have, and I love to read not only using the elements but also using the chakras, and something like the Shadowscapes deck is just so brilliant for that because of the colors, and there's so much going on, so much hidden in there that I mean, I've been reading with them for years. I'm on my second deck now because I destroyed the first one. I loved it, but it just got old. And it's one of those, even now, I still see things that I didn't see, you know, all of the other times I've read with it. And I love that. I really, really feel like that's worth something to me.
Absolutely. I think that's, some people, because I thought I was a bad witch because I couldn't connect with tarot. Somebody gave me the Thoth deck, and I could not.
The Thoth deck is hard if you don't have, like, because I use the Thoth deck now, but it's not a go-to. It's one that I'll use occasionally, and it depends if I'm feeling fruity. But for me, if you don't have an understanding of basic astrology or an understanding of kind of the Kabbalah, at least basically, it's extremely, extremely difficult to use. And even then, it's still a case of having to learn this entirely new deck and this entire system. And just looking at the images and the colors and the shapes and everything, it's quite overwhelming.
Yeah, and I think for me, the Thought deck, I told somebody in email, I was on a bulletin board called Pods, and I happened to say, I don't like the Thought deck because it's too dark.
Yeah.
Well, I just put that out there, and I mean, if it had been in handwritten letter, it would have been front and back 3 legal pages of why I shouldn't just assume the Thought deck is dark because Aleister Crowley, blah, 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 blah. I mean, this guy just went off.
Yeah.
He was a Canadian. I've lost touch with him. Black Mamba, if anybody knows him, or if you're out there, Bay of Fundy area, contact me, baby. But he wrote me this intense letter, and I wrote back and said, the colors are dark. Right, and so he's like, I just wasted all this energy,
all this time,
crazy American, because it's the colors. I like bright colors.
I quite like it.
Airy colors.
I quite like it color-wise in terms of the chakra system, because they are those very bold colors. But I enjoy looking at more kind of pastel, like watercolor-looking cards. I enjoy them more, but that's just a personal thing, you know. It's the same as, you know, what color would you rather paint your wall? It's a personal taste, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm not going to ask somebody to go out to dinner with me and eat what I think they should eat.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, and I have a modest collection of decks. It's around 600. Um,
Oh my
so
goodness.
right, I'm kind of a magpie, and I actually
Kind of.
for those of you paying attention, I just got a new deck to review called Pick Your Numbers, and it's a game. It's like tarot, numerology, and astrology, and there are dice inside of it. I cannot wait to dive into this thing. But I digress. Let me go back to my questions because I just like bloop. Remember, I talked about squirrel. My mind just squirreled on us. How do you intentionally honor or care for your deity? Are there things that you do that you can talk about? Some people can't.
For me, it's the way I look after myself. Because I mean, also, I mean, there's lots of things, isn't there? Looking after the planet, doing, you know, different things like that. If I see an empty packet of crisps, I'll pick it up and put it in the bin, you know, different things like that. But for me, the way that I view deity personally is that, okay, I kind of see the universe as source energy, overall kind of top of the pyramid. Then from then I split it down into two separates, into masculine and feminine energy. I don't really see a god and a goddess sitting somewhere as physical beings. I see them as being two separate essences of the same thing. And then I break that down even further into different names that describe different characteristics and different things like that, which is where you get all the names and the different pantheons and cultures and things like that. Now I see very much collective consciousness as being this energy that we use when we do our magic, or when we do anything really. And for me, I'm part of that. And so the universe and all of the essence within the universe, the energy within the universe, exists kind of like, the way I like to say it, I said it recently in a course that I was doing, and I thought that's a good example, I'm going to keep that. Is if you go to a concert or a festival or something like that, and you can feel that buzz of energy all around you, but it's made up of those people. If you went to that same space, that empty concert hall or an empty field where the festival was, alone another day, it wouldn't be there. That energy is there because of the individual people. So we are making that collective consciousness. So to me, divine and the universal source energy exists purely because of myself, purely because of you, purely because of all of us. If you take us away, it's gone. And so yes, fair enough, if I was to go, it doesn't, you know, if I was to disappear, it wouldn't go away. But if we all had the same thought, it would. And so for me, the best way that I can honor the universe, the best way that I can honor the divine, is to honor myself, is to look after myself. Because if we all did that, then everyone would have this amazing high vibration that would raise the vibration of the planet, and you wouldn't really be able to do anything about it, would you? We would just ascend. So that's my view, at least. I'm not saying that's for everyone, and certainly not my view of deity is for everyone, but that's how I kind of see it myself.
I love that, and I really, y'all, I think Mandy's just solved the entire problems of the world, because truly, if we all focused on ourselves, took care of ourselves, we would all raise up. Now, I'm also here to say that, because I've got a Scorpio moon, because it makes me a little, I think once we raise to that new vibration, we'll find new ways to not like each other.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I was having a really deep and meaningful, I've just come back from a Wiccan retreat glamping trip with the Coven, and I was having a really deep and meaningful conversation. We were talking about wars and all of this stuff, and I was saying, now I'm not going to go into detail because you won't get me to shut up, like it would just go on for, you'll go to bed, I'll just carry on kind of thing. But I do think we are heading towards a massive war. I think we have been for hundreds and, you know, probably thousands of years, but I don't think it's a war with weapons. I think everything like that is just a distraction. I think it's an energy war, and I think we are brainwashed constantly through the media, through all of these different things, and that's why I think it's so important to raise your vibrational frequency, to acknowledge yourself and to look after yourself. Because when it comes to this epic war that I genuinely believe we're going to have, it doesn't matter if you're a soldier or if you have a gun. It's a mind war at the end of the day. You're either awake or you're not. And if we can wake everybody up, we can win. But if we can't, we're going to lose. And so that's kind of overall, under absolutely everything that I believe, that's my main focus for my entire life, is to raise my vibration and to attempt to not control other people, not to raise other people's vibration, and not to even tell them that they should raise their vibration, but to hopefully, in raising my vibration and in being happy and in manifesting the life that I want and in having these opportunities that kind of have fallen into my lap, and I believe because of the way that I live my life, that other people will see that and think, well, I want that, and realize that they can have it too. And I think that there's so much, you know, there's so much competitive and bitchiness and all of this absolute crap. And I just think if we just all get over ourselves and start lifting each other up, then we can do it. You know, that there's nothing holding us back. We don't need to be big and strong. We don't need to go to the gym. We don't need to learn how to use weapons. We just need to learn how to love each other and how to love ourselves.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And I think my personal point of view is that's one of the reasons I'm a joy seeker. I'm keeping myself happy. I'm lifting myself up. I'm always trying to, not always trying to, I am always trying to seek joy. That's why I say seek joy, not a found joy. Yes, because it's a constant
well,
thing.
Yeah, I don't live in a state of constant happiness, kind of. I think that's ridiculous. For me, if I can be happy at least once every day, I know I'm doing something right. You know, even on the worst days of my life, I manage to find something to be happy about. But at the same time, I'm not going to lie, I don't walk around everywhere skipping, mainly because I'm so unfit. I'd just be sweating constantly.
Look, girl, I tried to skip the other day because I told my husband I didn't think I could remember how to skip. And so I tried it in the middle of like a Costco. Not a good idea. But it did bring other people a lot of joy.
Exactly. But yeah, I just think that focus, like people try so hard that I want to be happy. I'm working towards being happy. Great, but to me happiness is acknowledging that you're going to be working towards that forever. You don't work towards being happy and then achieve happy and then stay there. Work towards being happy is kind of like feeding yourself. Like at some point it's going to come back out and you've got to do it again. You know, it's an everyday thing. What
is that Buddhist quote? Chop wood, carry water, find enlightenment. Chop wood, carry water. It's a cycle. It's always, and maybe we're spiraling up, and maybe sometimes we take a step down and we come back up. But by raising our vibration and focusing on ourselves, I do think that we raise other people up, because by example, they say, Arwen and Mandy seem to be doing okay. I mean, they've got shitty days, but overall it seems pretty good.
Yeah. And the thing is, you can find it anywhere. Like this, it might be a bit controversial, I don't know. When I was 18, I was a stripper, and I used to, like a pole dancer, lap dancer, take your clothes off, whatever. And I used to work in a strip club. And people assume that these are dingy, horrible places. And the one thing that people assume the most is that the girls are going to be really, really bitchy. Well, I have never in my life had so many female friends, and I had never felt like I fitted into a group before in my entire life. And I fitted into this group of women, not because we were all the same. I was 18 when I did it. I think the oldest lady at the club that I worked at, it was a very small club, was 40. We were all different shapes and sizes, and we were celebrated because we were different. And if I would go and ask someone if they wanted to dance, if they didn't want one, they might say, oh, but I'd like to dance with that girl over there. So I'd go and get her and say, you know, he was, and the same thing for me. They'd say, oh, this person wants to dance with you. And, you know, so it's not a case of having to go to Bali to a yoga retreat to have to find people to be nice to you. You find it in a strip club. You find it anywhere. You just need to open your damn eyes and smile and actually do it, you know?
Yeah. Now, I have to tell you, when you said strip club, I almost laughed because you are officially the 4th person I've interviewed.
Really?
That has had a strip club background.
Uh-huh.
So it's very interesting to me because stripping is very body positive to me, and paganism tends to be body positive. Mm-hmm. So I see a real correlation in that. And I may have to follow up with some of y'all, see if we can't get some sort of.
We should have a pagan pole dance. Pagan pole dance competition.
I think that's called Beltane.
Yeah. Oh, funny. Oh.
Okay, so we're coming towards the end. I've got 3 more questions because I have to ask, what's your favorite meal?
Meal? I really like vegetable lasagna, like a vegetarian lasagna. I'm not a vegetarian, but I really like vegetarian. If I have a choice of a normal lasagna or a vegetarian, I always pick vegetarian.
Me too. That's all. And I'm going to eat everything that doesn't move faster than me kind of eater. So, but yeah, I prefer a vegetarian lasagna, and I prefer meatless spaghetti and sauce. I want just plain tomato sauce.
I'm the same with like a pizza. Yeah. I'll never have meat on pizza. I don't know why. Just.
It's pretty rare for me. I'll do a Hawaiian with ham, but yeah, in general. Mm-hmm. Now we're making people hungry. Oh, look, Noah's in. Hey, Noah. And I'm not paying much attention to the chat, guys. I'm sorry. I'm talking to my phone so they can hear me. That's awesome.
Hello, chat.
So, ghost story time. Do you have a good ghost story? And if you can pick like one that kind of resonates with you right now, scary, funny, it doesn't matter.
I don't really have many. I have a couple, and the reason, like, I've done a few of the paranormal story times. I've seen them on lots of other people's channels, like the beauty channels and stuff. Always do paranormal story time, and they've always got like 28 or like, you know, like different things. I've only got a few because mine are true. But I used to work in a shoe shop. My mom worked there and my sister works there. That was kind of a well-known haunted shoe shop, and it was weird. The level, so the ground floor, which was where the shop was, the stock room out the back, upstairs, and then upstairs again was an apartment. And it was thought that the ghost of, I mean, we never saw anything. There was nothing like that. I've never seen a ghost in my life. I hope I never do, because I'm a massive chicken. But it was thought that it was haunted by the guy who had lived in the apartment, who was a butcher named Tom. Downstairs in the basement was terrifying, because that energy, the Tom energy, wasn't scary. It was different, but it was friendly. You know, every day we'd go in, we'd say, "Hi, Tom." My mom, who was the manager, wouldn't let us put up a Christmas tree at Christmas just in case he wasn't Christian.
I love your mom.
Yeah, she's great. And people used to come in all the time to see if they could do like articles for the paper or like to do ghost hunting and seances. My mom would always say no because she didn't want to bother him. And then downstairs in the basement, under the town that we lived in, well, I didn't live in the town, but under the town where it was all tunnels from the monastery. They've been kind of filled in, but they were all connected. So all of the basements of the shops in that area have got all of these tunnels. And the basement was part of what would have been a prison at the time. And strangely enough, the people in that kind of section of town in the prison had to make shoes, which is bizarre that it was a shoe shop, but it's not a shoe shop anymore. But that was a really horrible energy downstairs. It was, we wouldn't go down, nobody went downstairs alone. And it was where the kids' shoes were, which made it creepier. I don't know why. But yeah, we had over Christmas one year, basically when you walked in, we had 2 doors to get into the shop, like as a customer, and they had those alarms either side of the door.
Right.
so that like if you took a shoe or something because they had tags on, it would send the alarm off. Well, my mom used to get phone calls all the time from the police in the town because the alarm was going off in the night, so she'd have to go, and there would always be like a shoe that had fallen off a shelf but from way too far away, just plonked in the middle of this alarm. And there was one time, and it was over Christmas, there was a girl who worked there with us called Charlie, and she said out loud whilst we were cashing up at the end of the day, she said, "Are you going to be lonely over Christmas, Tom?" Because we were going to be away for a couple of days over Christmas before we came back. And the alarm went off, just like bleeps. And my mom was just kind of, because my mom is one of these people that, same as me, doesn't know if she believes in these things or not, but would rather not mess with it just in case. My mom was kind of like, ah. And then Charlie said, "Oh, do you want to go home with Margaret?" which is my mom's name. And my mom was like, and the alarm went off again. Anyway, over Christmas, middle of the night, my mum got a call on her mobile phone from the shop phone, but there was nobody there. She answered it and it just went dead. But there was obviously nobody at the shop, middle of the night, and that was that. There was no break-in, there was no nothing. But yeah, so
Tom was lonely. He just wanted to hear her voice.
Yeah, probably.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Now, I love the reason I put ghost story time at the very end is because it's one of my favorite parts.
Mm-hmm.
The last question I have for you, Miss Mandy, is this.
Mm-hmm.
If you could have been given one piece of advice, one go-to statement when you first started on your path, what would you tell people who are on their own path? What's that advice you'd want to pass on to them?
Expect nothing and expect everything. And also, I would have really, really liked, I don't know if I'd have listened to myself. Like if I could go back and tell younger me, I don't know if I'd have listened to me.
Yeah.
But I wish, especially from being a writer, from writing a book myself, I wish that I could somehow just put the information into everyone's head that authors of religious things are just sharing their opinion. You don't have to listen. It's never fact. You know, any book you read on Wicca, any book you really read on any religion or spiritual topic, none of it is fact. It's all based on the author's personal thoughts, opinions, and experiences. It doesn't have to sit right with you because it might not be true. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Everything in my book is my feelings and my personal opinions, but it doesn't make it true for everybody. Obviously, it's true for me, so it's a fact in terms of that I'm saying this is how I feel, and that is a fact. But in 10 years' time, I might not even feel that way anymore myself. Yeah. Because I'm going to grow and evolve. So it certainly doesn't have to be right for anybody else. So yeah, I would say expect nothing and expect everything. And be aware that it's all just an idea, and that nobody's ideas, whether they've got qualifications, whether they've written 50 books, nobody's ideas are ever more important in your life than yours. No one's opinions are ever more important than yours.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me. When I say goodbye, I always say seek joy, y'all. Do you have a specific way you like to end your videos?
In a bit. No, I don't. I don't know what I even say. I know that when I say hello, I'm like, hello everyone, because I always think I sound like a really weird, like children's TV presenter or something. But no, I think I just, what is it that I say? I always say in my videos, I always say, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments bar below and I will get back to you, and I'll see you in a video soon. Bye-bye. Blessed be. So that's what I say.
Okay, thank you so much. Seek joy, y'all. Pass it on.